Night falls again. Both of them get ready for guard duty. Once more, the creatures crawl out from the sea. But this time, David is not afraid. He starts firing at them. Gruner does nothing. He locks the lighthouse gate, leaving David outside. He wants David to learn how to fight those creatures on his own. David keeps fighting all night until morning comes. When Gruner opens the gate, he sees David sitting outside, covered in blood. He has finally learned how to survive. Time keeps passing. Every night, they fight those sea monsters. Every day, David helps Gruner maintain the lighthouse. The island now feels like a prison to him. He keeps wondering when he will finally breathe the air of freedom again. Over time, David forms a strange bond with the female creature. He begins to feel sorry for her. Now, he understands how painful it is to live alone, away from your own people. Maybe she feels the same way. David even gives her a name. He calls her Eris. Days go by. Then one day they notice something. The attacks are becoming less frequent. David thinks maybe the creatures move away during winter, or perhaps they have realized that fighting them is useless. But Gruner says that's not true. He warns that they will attack again. They are increasing in number. A few days later, one night after dinner, Gruner and David start playing chess. But then Gruner makes a big mistake. They get so lost in the game that they forget to turn on the lighthouse light. Taking advantage of the darkness, the creatures attack again. David sees there are too many of them. Even two men together can't fight for long. Their bullets are almost gone. Somehow, they climb up to the top of the lighthouse. But Gruner's leg gets badly injured. The creatures overpower them. It feels like the end. Luckily, the sun rises. The light scares the monsters away. Aniris tries to heal Gruner's wound. But David now realizes the truth. They can't win this fight. The bullets are nearly finished. The food is also running out. The next day, David walks outside and sees a ship far away on the sea. He rushes inside, grabs the flare gun and signals the ship. But Gruner stops him. He doesn't want David to leave. At that moment, Aniris attacks Gruner. She wants to protect David. Gruner doesn't want anyone to leave the island. This is his world, his kingdom. He doesn't want to lose it. He believes that if David escapes, he will expose everything about Aniris and the creatures. The ship slowly disappears into the horizon. David watches helplessly. Days pass again. Gruner continues to treat both David and Aniris badly, but he beats Aniris more often. David hates it. One day, David gives Aniris a small toy boat made from fish bones. When Aniris sees it, she takes David to a hidden part of the island. There, a real boat is kept. When David asks Gruner about it, he says he already knew. Some people once came to this island on that boat to save their lives. But before sunrise, the creatures killed them all. They were carrying explosives. The ship sank near the island during a storm. After hearing this, David gets an idea. They still have an old diving suit. David says, if one of them goes underwater where that ship sank, maybe they can find bullets or dynamite to fight the monsters. But Gruner refuses. Still, David is ready to risk his life. Days go by. The bond between David and Aniris grows stronger. David starts falling in love with her. Gruner secretly sees them together. He becomes jealous. He fears Aniris will take David away from him. So he decides to get rid of David. The next day, Gruner agrees to David's plan. He says, fine, you wear the suit and go underwater. You collect as much dynamite as you can. Then I will pull you up with the rope. But Gruner has another plan. He wants David to bring the explosives up and then leave him underwater to die. That way, Gruner will get the dynamite and control Aniris again. They sail to the place where the ship sank. David wears the diving suit and goes underwater. He sees the wreck of the old ship. Luckily, he finds boxes of dynamite. But suddenly, some creatures appear in front of him. David panics and falls down. The diving suit is too heavy. He can't move. He can't signal Gruner. Gruner thinks the creatures killed David. But in reality, they are just two small baby creatures. Somehow, David manages to remove the suit and swim back to the surface. They recover the boxes of dynamite. Soon, they begin working. They set 2 layers of dynamite around the lighthouse. The next time the monsters attack, they will blow them all at once. Months pass and winter arrives. But suddenly, the creatures stop attacking. It's as if they know a trap has been set. Gruner suspects that Aniris warned them. He becomes violent and hits her again. David stops him. Finally, they make a new plan. They decide to leave the main gate of the lighthouse open. When the creatures come inside, they will blow them up. David tells Aniris to scream from the top of the lighthouse. Her voice echoes across the island. The creatures hear it and get angry. When they see the open gate, they think it's their chance to rescue her. But it's a trap. Soon, the creatures crawl out from the sea and rush toward the lighthouse. They break through the gate and attack David. He fights back with courage. When they reach near the walls, Gruner pulls the lever to ignite the dynamite. But nothing happens. The connection is broken. David realizes Gruner forgot to reconnect the wires. He runs upstairs and quickly fixes it. The creatures start climbing the lighthouse. Gruner fights them alone. As soon as the wires are fixed, David triggers the first blast. Many monsters die in the explosion, but still, many more keep coming. Gruner then sets off the second layer. A massive blast shakes the island. Both men lose consciousness. In the morning, they wake up to silence. Anaris is gone. Dead creatures are scattered everywhere. Gruner starts killing the wounded ones, but David notices a necklace around one of the dying creatures. He feels pity and realizes their mistake. The creatures were not monsters. They were living beings just like humans. They only couldn't speak. But Gruner doesn't care. After that night, the creatures never attack again. But every night, the sound of crying comes from the sea. David now understands how much destruction they caused, how many families were broken, how many children lost their parents, all because of one misunderstanding. One morning, David sees small baby creatures near the shore. They have lost their families. He builds a circle of stones and places the toy boat in the center, hoping Anaris will return. He waits for hours, but she never comes. The next morning, David wakes up and sees Gruner sleeping. Near him are some old belongings. Among them is a photograph. When David looks closely, he is shocked. It's the same photo he saw in Robert's old diary. The girl in the photo is Gruner's wife, and the man beside her is Gruner himself. Now David understands everything. The previous weather officer, Robert, never died. He changed his identity. Gruner is actually Robert. He chose to stay on the island forever. After seeing this, David gives up hope of ever leaving. In the evening, he goes to the shore. The toy boat is gone, but there he sees a small baby creature holding it in his hands. David throws a burning stick into the circle of stones to show he means no harm. He wants peace. He wants to be their friend. A few moments later, Anaris rises from the sea with her group. But this time, no one attacks. They all want peace. They just want a safe place for their children. Suddenly, Gruner appears with a gun. He cannot accept peace. He believes that if peace comes, he will lose his power. David tries to stop him. He says these creatures don't want war. They want freedom. But Gruner doesn't listen. He shouts at Anaris to go inside. For the first time, she refuses. She is no longer his slave. Gruner feels powerless. No one obeys him anymore. He walks toward the lighthouse in anger. David thinks maybe Gruner finally understands that every living being wants freedom. But he is wrong. Gruner picks up a flare gun and fires it. The flare hits a baby creature. It dies instantly. All the other creatures panic and run away. Anaris loses her faith in David. Filled with rage, David runs to the lighthouse to confront Gruner. He fights him. He yells, "Why did you do this?" They only wanted peace. Gruner is blinded by madness. He picks up an iron rod to kill David. But David shouts his real name. "Stop, Robert! You are not a killer!" Hearing that, Gruner freezes. The truth hits him. He was not always like this. Loneliness, his wife's death, and years of isolation had destroyed his mind. He realizes the creatures were never enemies. They only wanted peace. Gruner steps outside and faces the sea. He drops his weapon. In the next moment, the creatures surround him and kill him. David locks himself inside the lighthouse. Time passes. A year later, a government ship arrives with a new weather officer. When the captain asks David about the previous officer, David says the same thing. He went to the sea and never came back. The new officer believes that David is Gruner. David doesn't correct him. He silently walks to the balcony and looks at the endless sea. He no longer wants to leave the island. He has become just like Gruner. Meanwhile, Anaris lives peacefully with her people. They no longer fear men. They are free, both in the ocean and on the island. And that's how the story ends.